The Northern Ireland Attorney-General has ordered fresh inquests into the deaths of people killed by British paratroopers in Ballymurphy, West Belfast in 1971. The families of the victims have been campaigning for 4 decades for a public inquiry into the killings.
11 people were shot dead by the Parachute Regiment in the Ballymurphy area of West Belfast between Monday the 9th and Wednesday the 11th of August 1971. And today, almost 40 years on, a march took place in the area. The family's call for an investigation remains. The army had gone into the area to round up suspected paramilitaries after internment was introduced. The military claimed it opened fire after being shot upon by Republicans, but the families of those killed have always maintained their innocence.
See, when you weigh up the story, it's just unbelievable. It's just so heartrending to feel that after all these years, my family, all our families, we're still trying to explain to people our loved ones were innocent. They were innocent. We know they're innocent. We need the world to know. We need David Cameron to stand up and say these were innocent people.
Our John was a typical 20-year-old, full of life, his whole life in front of him.
My brother knows happy-go-lucky. He just lived for buying clothes and get out on weekends.
But what I want is the truth. They said he was a gunman, and I didn't. No way. He was a good man. That's all I have to say.
They thought that was it, that they could come in and they could kill our loved ones and they could walk away and that would be it, but they were wrong.
And you have to remember that there has never, till this day, been a police investigation.
His whole life ahead of him. Could have been married, could have had kids. The British Army decided to shoot him, cut his life short. And in the process, they wrecked every one of our lives.
There was a lot of tension there that day. You could almost cut it with a knife, you know, you could feel it in the air. Tear gas cloud was everywhere because they were using that excessively then. My wife was worried about her sister who lived in Springfield Park. And so I said I'd go over and see if she was all right. Well, we got over there and there was the Protestant side were throwing stones at the backs of houses and petrol bombs, and the Catholic crowd were throwing stones and petrol bombs back, you know. And I said, come, we'll get the women and kids out. This would have been about 6, half 6 in the evening. It was a sunny day, quite pleasant. And we started walking across this field. Well, on one side of the field there was factories, it was on high ground. On the other side was the Protestant estate with big flats, and then in front of us was more flats that were where the Catholics lived, and the Henry Taggart, which was in the local police station. And as we started walking across the field, we were shot at. My first instinct was to hit the deck and tell everybody else to hit the deck, because that was the training I had. But the guy next to me got killed. There's a guy in front of me got killed. I kept telling everybody to stay still, keep down. And I looked to where the shots were coming from, and they were coming from the block of flats in Spring Hill on the Protestant side. And it was a power, as you could see them as clear as anything.
We were to go and see my brother on that afternoon, but he had phoned earlier to say, don't come, because we're having problems here, so it wouldn't be wise to come up. And I knew what type of guy he was. He loved to get in them up, stuff like that, you know, to try and help.
It was here at this field at the rear of Springfield Park that Father Mullen was shot. He'd been in his home about 150 yards away when word reached him that a man had been shot and wounded in the field. Father Mullen immediately left his house and rushed to the scene, braving a hail of crossfire as he did so. Waving a white handkerchief, he approached the wounded man.
He phoned the army and told them that he was going out into the field where this man had been shot to do his priestly duties, to anoint him, because they thought he was dying. Actually, he didn't die, he lived. And as he got up to move away, he was shot twice on the back.
Fell and began to crawl away, but was hit again. First aid men who'd seen the incident rushed forward to help him, but the gunfire continued.
My mummy Joan was a mother of 8 children and a grandmother. We were standing outside Henry Taggart, the army barracks, and we were watching the rain. The rain that was coming on was just kids, I would say from about 10 to 15, and they were just throwing stones at the barracks. And she came up and told us that we had to go down home, and we were standing talking when the loyalists started to attack Springfield Park. They fired CS gas, lots of boys run down through the field, and Noel Phillips was actually shot in the backside. And my mummy was seen coming out of a place of safety and saying, "Son, don't be crying, I'll help you." And as she made her way towards him, the first shot shot her in the side of the head, and it took half her face off. Basically, she had blinded her, and she was totally confused and sort of wandering around the field.
Don't get born!
But later on, the army came in to the field to take as they said, to take the wounded out. They said they left my mummy there because she was dead. We have witnesses say that my mummy was still alive, that she bled to death. Our autopsy reports state that she'd been shot 1 more times in the head. She was shot in the shoulder, she was shot in the hand, and she was shot 1 or 2 times in the thigh.
That particular morning, I had told my father I was 3 months pregnant. 6 o'clock on the 10th of August, the following day, in the morning, my mother came and said that my daddy hadn't come in all night. I would have go with her and go and look for my daddy. When we got over and anybody we were meeting, we were asking, had the same father, and no one at all knew where he was. Went to the army post thinking he might have got arrested, but he wasn't. And when I gave my father's name and all, said that Effin hadn't time for arresting, they only had time for killing. And as I was walking away, they were singing that song, "Where's Your Papa Gone?"
My father went out to try and help Joan Connolly, and he was shot in the thigh. At the inquest, which was held the following February, it was an inquest into the death of 4 people. My father's death, Joan Connolly, Danny Taggart and Noel Phillips. Eventually when we got the paperwork, there was over 16 soldiers claimed to have shot into Elmont's field. They claimed that everyone in that field was a gunman, and even Mrs. Conley was a gunwoman. There was no weapons found in that field, no bullets, nothing. There was no evidence. Forensics even showed that there was no evidence of any forensics on the hands of these people. But my father was branded a gunman along with the other people.
My brother was Eddie Doherty, who was shot dead by the soldiers on the White Rock Road. He stopped to speak to a man on the way, a man called Billy Whelan.
Hey Billy, that's some barricade, isn't it?
And he was standing with his back to the barricade, speaking to Billy Whelan, when the shot rang out. So, I don't think he knew what hit him, he just was dead. The worst thing, I think, of it all was them saying Eddie was a gunman, and he had been operating in Ardoyne the night before, and his body was dumped in the White Rock, and us knowing full well that he had been with us that day. And the fact then that he said that he was a petrol bomber. You know, it's hard when you haven't got his name cleared. And all we can look forward to is not vengeance or not an apology would be lovely, and his name being cleared.
It was the third day of internment, and it would have been in the early hours of the morning. My brother was awoken by another younger brother with a rattling of bin lids. Which was a sign that there's something happening in the area. He was murdered at Dermot Hill. We found out now that he was actually shot twice, once in the back and once in the thigh. The soldiers that murdered him claimed that he was a gunman and that he was shooting towards them. My brother was shot in the back. My brother was an innocent 20-year-old, and all the signs and all the documentation, everything's there to prove it. There was no gunman. Ballistics proved that in the courts. He was no gunman. They still to this day, my brother is labelled as a gunman shooting at the soldiers. Ballistics disproved there's nothing on his hands, and also my brother's back was to the soldiers when they shot him. He was no gunman facing them. It's also been said as well, my brother posed no threat to anyone. My brother was lying face down when he was shot.
My mummy took my daddy's case to court twice to try and clear his name because he was being branded an area gunman. And in the court case, the judge actually says that if Mr. Corr was a gunman, then why was he shot in the back? So it was still came back as an open verdict twice. So he still is classed as an IRA gunman.
My father, he was an ex-serviceman. He served in the British Army in the Second World War and fought in North Africa. And it was during one of those times in North Africa he lost his right hand. The morning of the 11th of August, my father went out to work. He was working in Corpus Christi Chapel as a joiner, and he was up there finishing off some joinery work before going on to a new job.
There's nothing to worry about. You're going into the chapel. Oh, dead on, mate. They shot a priest the all night. Sooner I'm in there, the safer I feel. Nah, there you go. Now, why are inside? I'll fix the door after the funeral mass. I'll just go and get some tools.
My dad didn't come home from work that day, and nobody came to let us know that my father had been killed. If it wasn't for the people of Ballymurphy who looked after him when he was shot and made sure he got into an ambulance, we don't know what would have happened to him.
What's happened to you?
One of your men has shot this man for nothing.
Nonsense! He was carrying a weapon. Even I can see there's something wrong with the sleeve of his jacket.
What are you talking about? This man only has one arm. He lost his other arm in the war. He's a soldier, a British soldier, but unlike you, he's a hero. Now, could you stop pointing that at us? We're trying to help this man. We're fighting him, intimidating.
When my father died, my mum just got the widow's pension, and when they were ringing her, she would ask them, was she not entitled to the war widow's pension? And they says no, that he didn't die in a war. Mum says yes, it is a war here, and this says no, it was civil unrest, so she wasn't entitled to the war widow's pension. But that was something within the family. We joked every year, saying, oh right, are you going to ring them up again and see are you entitled to it this year? And she says, well, if I don't ask, I won't get it.
They knew exactly who they were firing into. They knew it was civilians. They knew they cut down a priest. Because, I mean, a priest waving a big white cloth above his head, you know, it's fairly obvious, you know. Yeah, he hasn't got a gun in, so well, they shot him 3 times in the back. You know, it was just blatant murder that day.
Campaigning for 14 years, and it's been hard work. It's work that we were burdened with because from the initial shootings there has been no police investigation at all, and we continue with our campaign until we get acknowledgement from the British government that all the victims were innocent, an acceptance of their innocence, and a public apology.
We're hoping that doing this campaign that we will get closure and that my daddy will be seen in the eyes of the world as an innocent man along with all the rest of the victims.
Who sent the paratroopers in that night? You know what I mean? Who was behind it to send them in?
You will never go out until we get proof of innocence.
We're not going to stop until we can prove the innocence of our loved ones. I know, and the British Army know, that they were innocent victims.
Thank you.